Okay, hello. We have a rather interesting game here. I've decided to record on a whim. We have an absolute mass of ONS ships. You can see that we have Black Bat, Bunions, Emil, and Flynn on one side versus Kitten Slayer, Snowdragon, Habitually Red, and Fosh Ranger. Um, on one side we have 3 battleships with some supporting frigates and corvettes, and 1 CV. On the other side here we have a group of Lineships. Looks like these ones are armed with containers? Mixture of containers and guns. Very interesting. Bit of bombshell. Okay, so some containers and a couple cell mounted ones. We have a big old carrier here. And is this another little carrier? A hybrid. Oh no, those look like individual. Okay, yeah. A big old line ship here. A little shuttle. And then some tugs. Interesting. I haven't seen much of these swing fire missiles, so I'm interested to see how they go. Okay, looks like these tugs will be spreading out. Love the names on the weapons. Got a couple of scout craft. Oh yeah. Interesting early warning radar on the monitor. Guess so it can have both with enhanced things. What are most of these? Okay. And then a few squads of... Yeah, this is a very asymmetric fight, and normally, of course, you're going to get asymmetry between ONS and you're going to get asymmetry between ONS and ANS. Okay, we've got a little bit of an...
The enemy is securing zone eclipse.
A spread here. I believe these are Elint craft. So they should be picking up on the radars. I'm not sure if we get the full spectrum on spectation. Now, as for sites, the ONS has claimed their home sector, ANS has claimed their home sector. Looks like we had one of Flynn's shuttles boost for E, backed up by a couple of Black Bat's line ships.
The enemy is securing zone atlas.
Now, with all these battleships at play, I feel like these line ships are not going to have a good time.
The enemy is secured zone eclipse.
Interesting rush up the middle, and now we've already got some of these scouts coming out to try and spot the enemy. Of course, that early warning radar giving such a huge cone of detection. Looks like quite a few ships on the ONS side have been lit up, and the ANS are managing to keep themselves pretty well hidden, which, given the sort of ambush style the ONS seems to be more built for, that's interesting. Huh. Some interesting builds here. ANS is definitely being a bit ANS is being quite defensive in this fight. They're not spreading out as much as they can. They've concentrated most of their power in the middle, whereas ONS has spread their ridiculously big fleets all about. We've got a goblin dueling a undefendable little beacon. Where is it? There. Does this goblin? It does have little cannons, so that should be a pretty easy thing for it. Oh, are we disconnecting here? Okay, we've got some E-War going on here. So is that an Illuminator and a thing? Once again, ONS is just getting absolutely lit up, although most of the ANS fleet is now exposed. Habitually Red has their carrier way out here, which is, if it gets detected by this early warning radar, could be in trouble, especially with the amount of strike craft that... Oh, how can I miss this? Oh, that's going to slow down that. I got to figure out what the hotkey is for turning off UI elements is. So that was a huge strike from the ANS. There was a lot of strike craft. I believe those would be from Bunions. Looks like we've got some coil gun armed strike craft, and yeah, just so Snow Dragon is flexing their flak there. Yeah, that is kind of ridiculous. Absolutely shut down that strike. They've pushed ONS off the point, and yeah, most ships are fine. There's this one over here which wasn't even a part of the strike, which has been taken out on point C. ONS has come ahead on the game, but yeah, we can see the single line ship not really able to hold up a fight to 3 different BBs. Seems to be the primary target of fire. We do have this battleship here, but of course battleships just have much greater defenses than these poor line ships. We've got these 2 line ships here, which can't provide any support. This is an interesting build. We've got a decent line ship player here. Who's this? Blackback. What they've done that some newer players not be aware of is they've fully lined up their turrets, and they've oriented their ship so all the turrets can fire on the fucking whatever axis this is. Something that I'm not good enough a player to do. I'm familiar with the theory behind it. Okay, and then we've got this one here, which is engaging, and this is a more traditional one side. Really probably want to launch those containers going out into that line of fire. Yeah, this first line ship here, which was tanking most of that fight. Yeah, interesting. ANS seems to be struggling to focus on targets. Now we have Strife here. Are these... Okay, these are more patrol craft than anything. They're not especially equipped by the looks of it. Yeah. They could probably beat up a other strike craft, or maybe even a shuttle if they come across it. I don't know if they're going to do much damage against a larger craft. ANS really needs to push onto one of these flank points, or they're not going to be able to win. They might be trying to go for a total saturation. Ooh. Yeah. ONS really can't stand up in the open, but as you can see on the ANS side, their larger ships are basically untouched, while several of the line ships on the ONS side are taking some heavy damage. Now, who are these guys fighting? Okay. Sending in some strike craft on this poor little shuttle here.
The enemy secured zone common.
It is fairly well equipped to deal with strike craft, I would think. With chaff and a few missiles. Now, how many strike craft is the CVE equipped with? It does have some bombers, none of them being launched. Most of it's crafted out. If it loses too many of these craft, that's actually a fair amount of its strike power gone. And we've also got this line ship, damaged as it is, still firing on those craft. Now, they are stacking a bit of hurt onto this craft here. Yeah, bad orientation. That front cannon, the T-20, can't quite draw a bead on those fighters, which are getting shot to pieces by these two craft. Oh! Was that fired at the strike craft, or was that fired at someone else? I don't know. So that's a strike wave taken out. None of the bombers launched, which I actually agree with. We've got a little strike group here, and they're just on standby at the moment. Potentially going to screen for a bomber brigade. Let's see if any of those... Yeah, there we go. Two of those bombers getting loaded up. We'll have a look at what they've got. Now, here we have a fairly decent group. What do they have? So they have bombs. I'm a huge fan of bombs. I'm not a huge fan of bombs against something like a light cruiser, as they can be fast enough to sort of avoid a lot of them. Oh, yeah, flak just really demolishes those bombs. Is that... Flynn is not the player. Interesting, a missile build. Yeah. Oh, that wasn't even... Sorry, that wasn't even a light cruiser. That was a battleship. It was a flak heavy battleship. Yeah, I think the same one that we saw before. Just... Now, on the positive, they did not lose many strike craft on that run. 4 strike craft. In the grand scheme of things for this carrier is not going to be the end of the world. The fact that they didn't get much effective damage in there, that battleship is only barely degraded. Okay, so ANS has started to act more rationally. Now we've got an exposed home base point here. We do have this nice little Rains frigate here, a couple of larger cannons, the MK-46s, which I believe, yeah, 250mm. But with... Okay, this line ship is heavily damaged, but a few of its cannons are still working and might be able to lay some hits. Now, I think the problem for the ONS is going to be their line ships are already pretty degraded. Their main line ships, and then what? Water class line ship. This is yeah. Line ships are fairly degraded, and also looks like the missile heavy... Okay, no, that's still fine. But Flynn's largely missile heavy force is mostly spent its missiles. Still got plenty of 100mm, not really going to do anything against those battleships. And so yeah, you can see now they're losing Eclipse, but potentially gaining
The enemy secured Zone Atlas.
no, they're losing Eclipse. They're losing Alpha. This is not looking good for ONS. They don't have the staying power. Oof. And yep, that is the electronic warfare of the ONS side being taken out by base cannon fire. Should have kept that guy back a bit, maybe. I'm the last person to critique. I'm awful at this game. Okay. So we're seeing some canny work from
The enemy secured
Habitually Red, the ANS fighter player. Got a group of fighters out here. Here are those bombers. Is this a strike group 4? Have they salvoed? No. And so they have the finisher, the maces. Who are they going for? Yeah, I mean, both these sides are going to have, not going to have full pictures of the battlefield. I don't quite know if there's any good targets around here. There's a few tugs, but that almost, what, eight
The enemy
maces. I mean, I don't know, is it like 80 points of missiles? I feel like there are better targets. We've just got such a huge concentration of fighters here. And I don't quite know what they're headed for. Perhaps just going back to the carrier, which now is a target. Let's see, who's shooting at them? Yeah, these tugs have found them. This is big. Carriers really don't have any means of defense. I guess that explains the bombers. However, that will be habitually read out of the game. However, I don't know if ONS has the staying power if these battleships are deployed correctly. And we're looking here, they are still looking very good on the ammunition, except for here, which is the RPF shells, the sort of defensive shells. Yeah, these ones haven't even launched their missiles yet. You should feel like a launching an attack. I guess they've just been recalled. Looks like we've got some scramble launchers here, but who is that firing at? Okay, firing down here. Okay, yep. Securing B point. Like this fleet here is very devastating. But sort of like, yeah, what's the purpose? We've got 2 battleships. That's like, I don't know, what's it like? There's battleships here. That's got to be like 4,000 points minimum. Just sort of camping on A point. One of those battleships could hold A point, and you could be looking to do something more decent. Did we miss? Oh no. Sort of withdrew from this attack. One of the things I love about these updates is it's really hard to sort of keep track of everything that's going on. It makes for really exciting play. So carrier desperately trying to make an escape here. Interesting, they've got the Pinard there. Pretty rarely used thing. Heavy crew losses. That's going to make things difficult for this carrier. It's going to slow down the retooling. Okay, we've got these 35mm gun pod armed craft harassing and mostly destroyed. That was a missile monitor? Huh. Looks like the carrier's safe. Don't know. Okay, they might still be able to catch up with it. Carrier's still taking hits, but should be able to get into cover. Oh, wait. Yeah, once that line ship is done rotating... Oh no, it's... I'm not even really concerned with that carrier. Now, looks like we're massing for another strike on the ONS side. So we've got some gun pod and jamming armed craft, and then we've got some bomb armed craft. Huge fan of bombs. Gonna be interesting to see where they send these wings. I feel like Snow Dragons BB is the most exposed and available, and it has been doing some battle with these craft here. Yeah, so that's kind of the problem with that line ship arrangement, is it can be difficult to get the orientation to get all of those guns off. It works so well when you do it. And those are all plasma cannons, so it would really buff this other one here, but fairly heavily damaged. Still got good crew, but bad thruster power, so it's just going to be lit up by these craft. Now we can see that these two like picket ships are pretty heavily damaged, but this beam battleship is just going to absolutely crush this poor line ship here. Sort of the dream engagement for a beam battleship. I think Tony P. Vivana might just be making a run for it, which honestly fairly wise. Because at the moment ONS basically just want to try and drag out the game and do things like stealth cap. Like, that is a very fantastic little placement from Diet Coke there, because it allows him to sort of back cap. We've got some sense of warfare going on here. Unfortunately, I don't think Strikecraft can cap points, but might just be scouting there. Yeah, so habitually red just sort of scouting, screening there for Foch.
The enemy is securing Zone Atlas.
And yeah, see, that's some back capping there. Now, yeah, that's got no fighting capability whatsoever. This is where you... Yeah, I feel like habitually red is a little overworked here, and the carrier is basically gone. That looks like a lot of the compartments and all the launch pads destroyed. I don't know the damage lock is good. I don't know if it's got a refresh. I don't know quite enough about the meta there, but we've got the line ship, two tugboats firing on it. That's the disadvantage of sort of placing your carrier at such an offset position, is it's really difficult to readjust it to hide it behind an asteroid. Now, with that CVE effectively gone, that actually reduces a lot of the... Oh, was that a...
The enemy is securing Zone Common.
I'm so mad I missed that. That was the full strike. Didn't drop the bombs? What got it? What got that battleship? Was that the line ship? I'm very mad that I missed that, because that is significantly degraded from last time. I guess we'll have to check the post-game. But this is a hefty strike group. They've still got quite a bit of time in the field. And so we've got this strike group here, and this strike group here. I think they're aiming for the battleship. If they can take that battleship, then one of these little things, or even this line ship, can go back to cap it. I don't think ANS has the shippage to deal with it, especially with that CVE gone. They've lost all of their strike capacity. It's such a shame to see these fighters without loads to drop. And are we bombing? Yes, we are bombing. Significantly less flak going on. I think that was a couple of hits. Did those fighters scatter? And now we've got this second run coming in. Oh yeah. I thought there was a whole bunch of bombs going, but actually it's just a whole bunch flying back. Spectre. So you can see there, and then we've got Whistler forming up. So I think we're going for a, yes. So this is going to be an asteroid hugging attack run, very Star Wars like. So Dragoon is retreating. Ah, that's right. There's a bug at the moment where weapons aren't shown as deployed. So actually, sorry, Habitually Red, you probably had some more successful strikes than I didn't report on the actual payloads dropped. And yeah, we've got this push up here, but this is 2 BBs with full magazines sticking to the middle of the map and just allowing all this back cap shenanigans. And you know, we've got a point defense ship, and these 2 little tugs can just come in and clean up house. And here, I really want to see this strike. Now, are they going at slow speed? They don't seem to be going at max speed. But look at those beautiful bombs. Just checking the bomb loadout. This is just the standard dummy bomb loadout with a 35mm cannon. Gonna be interested to see if the 35 sticks around with the Spectres to use their 35mm cannons to strike back. Okay, you're revealed now, so going into high burn, getting that high attack angle. We've got this line ship trying to get itself back into deployment area. Looks like maybe Spectre isn't going for that battleship. Could be... Oh yeah, no, here we go. Oh, okay, this is going to be ruthless. Still got a fairly decent supply of flak shells. I don't see many of them firing. Here we go. Okay. Should destroy most of these bombs. Flak very useful against those bombs. If we look at the number of fighters being taken down, not many of those fighters are actually being destroyed. It's one of the other advantages of bombs is just the sheer saturation value you get. Oh. And see, that's quite a few hits. There's quite a few modules damaged. Of course, we've got the control teams, the damage control teams going about, repairing things, restoring modules. But significantly degraded combat capability. don't know if a pure plasma line ship would be able to deal with it, but as you can see, he's been forced off the point. Those fighters have done their job. Just the sheer saturation you can get with bombs, and I mean, only 2 fighters were actually destroyed in that combat. If we look at Bunyan's flight deck, there's still a full complement of fighters available. Very well played from ONS. I think that was an interesting game. I think if those battleships had been split up a little bit more, ANS potentially could have had a chance, but I do feel like we have just witnessed a sort of a, I don't know, this is kind of like a Pearl Harbor moment. Those battleships just really couldn't do much against the really good fighter play of Bunyans. So we had the 2 that are essentially undamaged in the middle, but their contribution to the game was taking A and pushing forward. Yeah, good point, Flynn. Imagine if you had spent those points on capping assets. Really interesting. Going to be interesting going over the battle report here. Let's look for some MVPs. So we have this BB here. Yeah, that is a solid amount of damage dealt, and pretty well retained. This is one of the ones that was in the middle, and then we had habitually red. Yeah, fairly good damage for a couple of sorties. That was 16 fired. Do we have, how many were carried? 16 carried, so all the big missiles are fired, but look at that attrition on those Tantos. Yeah, the sand shot not hitting too well. We're pretty good with the points there, and we've got these lists of engagements, which were mostly successful. So I feel like in the the space superiority role, they did pretty good. And then yeah, Sundials are just going to do their thing. Snow Dragon. So yeah, this was a pretty legendary ship. 17k damage received is pretty decent. I feel like this was one of the MVPs just for the positioning, going out on its own and still managing to survive. And for 16k damage without taking much hits themselves, only 2,000 damage received. That's pretty fantastic. Overall, and then we had these 2 frigates, which provided looks like jamming and air support. So we've got a clear MVP for damage here. Travelled a fair amount of distance, but I mean, I do feel like the Warrior did more on the map here. Now, Black Bat's Lineships, Fury Fond actually did pretty darn well. I think this was the one that was fighting the Warrior here. Yeah, Bunions. So yeah, I think this is the key. One of the key differences is ONS just had more strike craft, far more strike craft. I got 2 minutes left. And look at that damage, 15k damage dealt and 33 lost. But you look at the attrition rate between those Tantos and those Barracudas, it's not quite the same. The terrible efficiency ratings don't really tell it. So yeah, we can see that the flechette pods, not exceptional in air-to-air. I do feel like if there was a little bit more dedicated air space superiority craft, things could have been different. But yeah, just the sheer amount of damage those KB-22s did. Now we have this line ship here, which unfortunately didn't manage to do much before it got destroyed. The tank a lot of damage, lasted quite well late into the game. And then we've got these other sort of utility tugboats and our Flynn stuff. I'm very interested in Flynn stuff. Oh, that is fantastic. Yeah, the grape and the shells, fantastic work, fantastic work. Interesting use of missiles there. Yeah, the radar command HE shaped. Doing pretty well. The missile ship kind of not doing excellent at its job, but I do feel like these... Oh, the mines, I didn't spot the mines. Really cool to see mines getting some play. Yeah, that was a fantastic little boxing match. Yeah, definitely some lags early on, but a really exciting patch. Really cool game. Hope you enjoyed this little terrible rundown from a massive noob.